Sometimes people come across things in their life that really get under their skin. Sometimes it reaches their blood and becomes a part of the very fiber of their being, pulsing through them with every minute of the day. Sometimes people come across something they become so passionate about that it grabs a hold of them and defines them in ways they never thought possible. I'm not sure how many times I've sat down and tried to write an explanation about Bonfire and what it has meant to me and my experience at A&M. Each time I am filled with all these colorful emotions and a commanding motivation to share my story, and each time I find myself unable to describe it or even with an idea of where to start. Trying to explain the essence of what it means to build Bonfire to someone who has never experienced it is comparable to describing the color red to someone who has been blind their entire life. It's like trying to explain faith or love. Bonfire is not an experience that can be put into words, it's a feeling. Fortunately, the lack of being able to describe something so personal and close to your heart is a problem that many Aggies can relate to. From the inside looking out, you can't describe it, and from the outside looking in, you can't understand it. I hope that in itself can give a better idea of what this tradition has meant to me and the generations of Aggies that have come before me. One of the main reasons Bonfire is so important to me is that it has given me a deeper connection to this university. I feel as though through my participation with Student Bonfire, I have been able to experience a significant part of A&M that many students never get to. It has given me a glimpse into what used to be perhaps the biggest staple tradition in our university's history. The original Aggie Bonfire was able to symbolize the essence of A&M throughout its 90-year history, and I full-heartedly believe that it had a hand in shaping this university into what it is today. From its fundamentals of being a student-run organization with student leadership, to the values it taught of camaraderie, pride, sacrifice, hard work, loyalty, and character, Aggie Bonfire truly was the other education that A&M still boasts to this day. Aggies may build Bonfire, but Bonfire returns the favor by building us. The lessons I have learned in the shadow of Bonfire cannot be taught in any classroom.
I was there at the stack on November 18th. With logs on the ground, I fell down to my knees. But we would not forget the 12 that we lost. So we carved their names right there in the rock.
I feel that it's also important to acknowledge the fact that the efforts of Student Bonfire are to build in honor of the 12, not in spite of them. Personally, I have taken upon myself to learn as much about the history of the 12 as possible, which in turn has given Bonfire an even greater significance to me. Their names and faces are as permanently engraved in my heart as they are in the brass portals of the Bonfire Memorial. Nathan West was somewhat of a loner. He was very proud of the 1976 Beetle that him and his father had been working to restore. While it was never in good enough shape for him to take to college, his father made sure that it was in working condition to be driven to the church where his funeral service was held. Miranda Adams was a Mosier Hall co-chair and was known as the Queen of Bonfire because her commitment to it was tireless. Christopher Hurd and Jerry Self had just been chosen to be Brown Pots and were on the stack that night along with former Brown Pots Jeremy Frampton and Christopher Breen and current Brown Pot Chip Thiel. Chip Thiel would be the only one of them to survive the collapse. Tim Curley had the grades to attend any Ivy League school, but chose A&M when he fell in love with the traditions. Tim wouldn't allow rescue workers to come to his aid until they had pulled every other student he could see from his vantage point from the rubble. Being the only one of the 12 to be pulled from the stack alive, Tim died 42 hours later, becoming God's 12th man in heaven. Jamie Hand was a member of the FHK crew, and her love for the tradition led to her being dubbed the cheerleader of Bonfire. Chad Powell was also from FHK and was known to be quite a prankster. Michael Eubanks was the third student from the FHK crew. Michael had his pilot's license and loved to fly. As one friend stated, "I know that Michael didn't fall from that stack because Michael never fell. No, Michael flew right out of that pile of logs and hasn't come down yet." Brian McLean was also a pilot and a proud member of G2. He drove all the way from San Antonio his senior year in high school just to see Aggie Bonfire burn. His love for the outdoors led to him hoping to pursue a degree in entomology and affectionately earned him the name Bug Boy. Lucas Kimmel was said to have had the shiniest shoes in D2. He was a poet and once wrote, "So take a hold of the world and go for a ride, because not all men live, but everyone dies." These 12 Aggies will never be forgotten. An addition was made to the ending of the poem The Last Court Trip on the 10-year anniversary of the collapse. Then heaven's pearly portals opened, hosts of angels showed the way for that fightin' Texas Aggie group on that final judgment day. When more Aggies came in view, 12 dressed in bonfire gear, walking arm in arm and singing of the school they hold so dear. 12 Aggie voices said howdy to the keepers of the gate. Working hard, we just lost track of time. We hope we're not too late. It's the fightin' Aggie Bonfire crew, St. Peter said, behold. They're ready to light up heaven with their courage and faith so bold. I would often watch them building that stack so large and high, and surely knew the time would come they would build it in the sky. And so the 12 came through the gates. St. Peter said, don't fear. You're just in time for roll call, and one by one they answered here.